Phew, welcome back. Now, I know, I've been talking a lot and we've been staring at slides. I know you want to start doing something. You want to start writing some SQL queries and actually interacting with a database, which we're going to start to do in the next video. But hold on tight just a little bit more because we just talked about all these databases. It all looks kind of intimidating. So let's wrap our understanding of databases in this lecture so that we can start doing some fun exercises. So in order to complete our understanding, or at least initially complete our understanding, let's talk about some of the confusing terms you will hear throughout the course. Because computer scientists just love giving difficult names to not so hard concepts. Now, in this course, the way things are going to be structured is because we have data coming from all over the world, all different places, and when you work at a company, most likely a company already has databases set up. We want to focus on three main things. One is how to put data in a database. Yes, we'll show you how to install a database on your machine, which you might do at a company, although very rare. We're going to learn how to put data in a database that already exists. We're going to learn how to use, update, learn from this data. And we're also going to learn how to remove data, all using SQL. But first, let's talk about these confusing acronyms that you're going to hear out in the wild and also myself and Mo speak. The first one is DBMS, or a database management system. A database management system is a software, it's a program that is used to manage the database. It receives instructions from somebody like us that wants something to do with data and instructs the system, the database, to make this, to actually grab the data or make changes to the data. And then we have relational database management system. This is a subset of database management system. What we're going to learn about is something called relational databases. They're the most used, the most common, the most popular type of databases, and in my opinion, the most useful. Things like MySQL, SQLite, PostgreSQL, Microsoft Server, Oracle, all use this relational database management system. At the end of the day, it's the same thing as a DBMS, it's just more specific, saying, hey, this uses a relational database model, something that we'll talk about shortly. And then finally, why you're taking this course is SQL, or a structured query language. It's a way for us to interact with a database management system. Now, all these words are a little bit confusing, so let's use another diagram. We have all this data coming in, and this data coming in can be images, can be user profiles, can be audio files, can be logs of information, of statuses. And we learned that we need to learn how to put this data in a database, how to use, update, learn from this data, and also possibly how to remove this data. And in order for us to do this, we use those acronyms that we just learned about. That is, we have data, so data which is being stored in a database. We have a DBMS, or RDBMS. Remember, it means Database Management System. And we use something like PostgreSQL, which is a relational database management system. So again, a database management system usually gives us functions, basic ways for us to read data, to create data, to update data, or to delete data, often called CRUD operations. And a database like Postgres is what we call a relational database, which is why we use this R at the beginning. Again, something we'll talk about later on in the course, but a relational database is a database that allows us to set up connections among different data records. And then finally, this whole picture of data combined with a data management system, a database management system, is what we usually call a database. You see, when you hear things like MySQL, Postgres, Cassandra, MariaDB, CouchDB, CockroachDB, all of these things are actually software or database management systems, a way for us to store data, but also interact with this data. So when we refer to a database, We essentially mean these things, but at the end of the day, when you hear Postgres or MySQL, those are all just database management system, a way for us to interact with this data. And then finally, we have SQL, the structured query language. It's not really a programming language. It's a query language where SQL, its role is to give us the ability, like all the people that we saw, like product managers, like business analysts, like data engineers, like web developers, to communicate with these databases using a very simple language, SQL, that is very English-like, and anybody can use a very simple thing once you learn its rules, and interact with all these database management systems. Now, in here, I have Postgres as an example, and we'll use Postgres in this course because it's one of the most popular databases. But the beauty is that when you learn SQL, it doesn't just work with one database management system. If you remember our diagram, by learning SQL, we get to interact with a lot of databases because a lot of these databases, not all, but a lot of them, like MariaDB, like Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle Database, MySQL, SQLite, PostgreSQL. Most big database engines are compatible with all SQL code because they all say, hey, I want our database to be as easy as possible for people to pick up because we want people to use our database. So they use the SQL standard and they implement in their software a way for them to understand these SQL commands. So once you learn SQL, it should be very familiar and similar for you to work across many databases. This is the beauty of learning SQL, that it gives you the power to work with multiple types of databases, no matter what your role is. And later on in the course, we'll even show you how to decide on different databases. But for now, that's a lot of talking for me. I want us to start doing some exercises and actually learn what this whole SQL thing is about. In the next video, I want us to create Amazon and learn about how they went from not needing a database to using spreadsheets to finally implementing a database. And we're going to write our first SQL statements. Let's have a look.